Okay, Mom just went to bed a little bit ago, so I thought I'd take this computer back over again and I'd shoot you guys a video. Basically because I know that I have to work in the morning, and it's kind of a pain sometimes to do early morning videos, and then I don't put the most into it because I'm tired. And I'm tired right now, but I've got Raw fresh in my mind, so let's talk about it. Now, tonight, or should I say tomorrow, depending on when you're watching this. I'm shooting this tonight, obviously, so tomorrow we're going to be going to B-dubs. And that'll be done at 6 o'clock, and probably come back here about 9. And Wednesday, I work 12 to 8, and then Thursday, I work a very strange shift of 10 to 3. Now, basically, this schedule was pretty much because we're still building. Obviously, we're going to build the Great Gatsby this week, and that's going to be awesome, because I cannot wait for Gatsby. So I got to be a little bit quieter than I normally would be, because I'm showing respect for my mother, who's asleep in the other room. And I guess that's how it works when you live with your parents, or parent in this case. No big deal, because like I said, I'm doing this not because I have to live with my mom or have to live with my family and I can't live on my own. No, I'm actually just kind of living here so I can save money so I can move out and move to Orlando in 2017. So there's a reason for this. Now, Mom is in for the foreseeable future, and I foresee that to be as early as most likely Sunday or Monday. She'll probably go back out on the road. She's going to Cleveland again, and she'll be home on the weekends, but she'll be gone for the weekdays, so that's pretty much what we're going to have. We stocked up hardcore today at the grocery store, and that's amazing. Some amazing Applebee's. So there's always that. So there's a lot of things still to come for this week. Mr. Flashback, I don't know when it's going to be. I hope, fingers crossed, that Ben and Will be providing content for the channel before the week's over. That's what I'm shooting for. I've talked to Ben, and he's got a video for you guys, but he's trying to get it converted so it can be put on Pop. So once it's converted and everything is sent to me, I'll post it. And once Will is through with dealing with finals week, I guess is this week, then Mr. Flashback hopefully will be on Pop soon. So that's what you got to look forward to. Let's talk about Raw, shall we? Roanoke, Virginia was the site of Raw tonight, and basically crowd was really into John Cena all night long. And he immediately comes out to kick things off. And Cena says there is unrest in the WWE Universe. Many questions still to be answered. But he decides to bank on the ancient knowledge of Daniel Bryan. Yes, it wasn't smart of him to wrestle on a bad ankle last week. No, it's not going to stop him from wrestling Ryback at Extreme Rules. Then he's talking about him and Betty White. I don't understand what that meant. That made no sense. And Ryback DTF. And DTF stands for Doing the Fandango. And Cena says when he's by himself, he fandangos. He didn't say it in the words, but that's what I'm guessing we're going to say. So he did the champ is here shtick, and Vicky interrupts. So we didn't see Vicky last week on Raw because she just wasn't in Columbus, apparently. And she shows up, and she's going to rain on Cena's parade, basically, and say, you know what? I'm going to, sorry about that. Basically, she's going to give Cena and Ryback the chance to pick the stipulation for their match at Extreme Rules. But it's only fair if both were out to make the decision, so we bring out Ryback. So there's a stare down in the center of the ring. Cena gives an option to decide the stip, and Cena says, I don't really care. And some comedy segment is hinted at. We're talking about a wine off or Vicky's granny panties on a pole. Ugh. I like Cena, but I don't like the comedy Cena. I just don't. He mocks Ryback's rather heavy breathing, how he's being basically Sid at this point in life. And pretty much says that Ryback's favorite movie is Fried Green Tomatoes. Why? Because isn't that about food? Oh, God, terrible. Terrible material from Cena this week. Ryback remarks how Cena can barely take a step without hurting himself, and finds it quite ironic that Cena's Achilles heel is actually his Achilles heel. Not to mention his pride and his ego. He decides on a match where Ryback rules, and Cena literally won't be able to stand for a 10 count. That's right, John Cena and Ryback at Extreme Rules will be a last man standing match. So early on in the day, there's a lot of tweets that were posted by Paul Heyman saying that he's going to do something extreme, and mentioning the word extreme over and over again. And then there was a comment made on breaking news of the WWE app, and I actually got it on my set to my iPhone because WWE Mobile sends stuff to my phone. And basically, Heyman and Brock Lesnar were at the WWE World Headquarters in Stamford, Connecticut over the day. And Heyman said he was going to let it be known with his own footage shot with his own iPhone just what happened when Brock and Heyman showed up in Stamford. And we're going to get that later on in the evening. So Randy Orton is walking, and once again he's going to be at the start of the show. He's going to face off against the intellectual savior himself, Damien Sandow, next up. So basically, we find footage from last week, which I'm sorry I did not get to review NXT or SmackDown. I'll try my best if I can to do NXT tomorrow night, if I have time. I might even do SmackDown tomorrow night. Just depends on how tired I am and when we get back from beat-ups, because, I mean, you guys want more content, I'll give you some. So, basically, the Big Show distracts Orton, while Sandow jumps him from behind and nails him with the Terminus, which is his neck breaker, basically. His Halo neck breaker he's hitting now. Randy waits in the ring. Sandow makes his entrance, and oh my God, it was incredible. He decides he wants to use Orton's music against him, and the lyrics are phenomenal, talking about his tattoos, his lack of facial expression. Crowd really was into it, to be totally honest. If nothing else, on Sandow, they loved the fact that he just used Orton's theme music against him. So we get our first match of the evening, Randy Orton against Damien Sandow. Now, basically, Orton counters a dive off the top rope from Sandow with the Brian Pillman counter, which is basically a drop kick. And he hits the snakebite DDT, RKO, 1, 2, 3, went about 9.5 minutes. So the announcers were kind of gushing over Randy's win. We don't see it right away because the camera was on Cole, JBL, and King at the time. But Big Show comes out and cold cocks Randy Orton. And of course, there was a replay that actually did catch the punch out, and they show the replay. And the officials are tending to Orton, who is laying prone on the ramp. So up next, we're going to get Alberto Del Rio to take on Dolph Ziggler. That's going to be a good match. And Fandango is in action very soon. So, 2 things to look forward to. Come back to commercial break, and of course, Chris Jericho comes out wearing a JJ Sexay's jacket. Basically, he runs down Fandango and he screws up his name over and over again like Jericho does. And he says he's going to score the match himself with some help from Tons of Funk. And you know, when you think of great dancers, you think of Sweet Tea and the Funkasaurus. Not really. Fandango comes out. He got an okay reaction. He was a lot louder reaction in Columbus Monday night. I can vouch for that. And basically, here comes R-Truth, so we get our second match of the evening. And basically, the whole match, they're just dogging Fandango with the match ratings. So basically, Fandango jumps Truth as he starts to dance and locks on a cravat. Truth comes back with the hat rack crack and the scissor kick, and Fandango powders to the outside to break the momentum. Truth knocks some splits, and basically Fandango at this point just walks out, and we get a count-out win for R-Truth about a minute and 40 in. That was a waste of time. The only thing it really does is it pretty much just is going to build towards Fandango and Jericho again at Extreme Rules. And they will meet on Raw Monday night in Tulsa, Oklahoma, Jack Swagger country, and Jim Ross country when they face off in a dance-off. Yeah. Okay. So we go back to SmackDown. We saw that Ryback and Mark Henry had a long day. Ryback and Daniel Bryan had a tremendous match, apparently, that I did not see, which hopefully I could see before this week's over, hopefully before tomorrow's over. And, of course, Bryan was attacked by the Shield later on in the night. Bryan says, "I'm fine physically, and I'm fine, period." He talks about how the Shield is supposedly all about justice, but no one believes them. He's going to prove what justice is all about, which means he's going to challenge Ryback in a rematch from SmackDown. Ryback pops his head around the corner and basically says, "No, I'm going to spare you, because you were already hurt by the Shield last week. You're not even half the man if you were 100%. Kane pops his head around the corner and says he's only half a man. Though asking if he's only half a man, and Ryback can fight him if he wants, and challenge accepted. So we see Ricardo out, announcing ADR as usual. After the break, we get Del Rio against the World Heavyweight Champion, Dolph Ziggler. Come back from break. Ziggler and his entourage make their way to the ring. Highlights of last Friday were Del Rio actually tapped out Ziggler. And basically that was just to build Del Rio as a potential winner on the triple threat match at Extreme Rules. So it goes 3 in a non-title match. Dolph and ADR. Match was really good, by the way. But it kind of lost itself towards the middle. I mean, it just didn't... Like, their chemistry wasn't the greatest tonight. I mean, it was a decent match for what it was, but when it comes down to it, there's so many better encounters the two have had before. So, basically, there was an interesting botch on this match. Oh my god. Del Rio missed the kick to the head, and he landed on Dolph. It's kind of funny. He went for the, you know what I mean, like the enziguri in the corner, and Dolph moves out of the way, but when he falls back, he lands on Dolph's head anyway, and pretty much Dolph was out of it the rest of the match. So, there's another botch that comes up, midway through the match, like towards the end. Ziggler goes up top, Del Rio looks for the running enziguri kick. This time, he jumps up and only catches a fist to the head, which didn't look very good. So, he hits a inverted superplex on Dolph from the top, which looked amazing, and also Dolph had the neck, so basically he had a Misty Flip while the superplex inverted style was administered, so both men are down, so we do a double down on that. And Del Rio hits the side kick to Ziggler's head, which reverberates throughout the arena like it always does. Goes for the cross arm breaker. AJ jumps up on the ring apron. Big E breaks the hold by dragging Dolph out of the ring. He picks up Del Rio and tosses him into Jack Swagger, who's doing commentary, by the way, during this entire match. He comes up midway through the match. Him and Zeb Coulter are doing commentary. The ref sees this out of the corner of his eye, and like a good referee should, he disqualifies Ziggler. So ADR wins by DQ, went 15 minutes. Swagger grabs the ladder, and before he does, he rams Big E Langston into the ring post. He picks up the ladder, drives it into Ricardo's stomach, and pushes him into the barricade. Gets back in the ring, nails Ziggler in the face with the ladder, and then throws the ladder at ADR. So they stand tall in the ring, because obviously you have to have Swagger get over in order to make him a viable contender to the World Heavyweight Championship, because we all know next week he's in Oklahoma. That's where he's from. Ergo, he's not going to get over in Oklahoma. He's probably going to be put under quite a bit. So, we'll see what happens next week on Raw. So, basically, we get an official announcement of Ryback and Kane as the main event for tonight. Oh, goody gumdrops. Come back, commercial break, and Caitlyn and the Funkadactyls are backstage, and they're talking about her secret admirer. The Funkadactyls warn her to watch out for this guy. He's texting her, claims to understand her. And you know, he even quoted Ralph Wiggum with the "choo choo choose me," and they even referenced The Simpsons. Interesting, because a lot of the former WWE writers were writers on The Simpsons, so it makes sense. Natty shows up and suggests that Great Khali goes undercover to kind of smoke the guy out. Okay, a 7'1" guy undercover. And apparently Natty pipes in and says, Khali used to be a cop. Okay, whatever. As they leave, the Bellas emerge from behind the curtain and smile so devilishly, so they heard everything. Here comes the Shield. And the Shield comes out, and they're going to be facing... Well, the smart money would be against a three-man band, and that's exactly what I predicted, given the fact that they've been pretty much on a collision course for the last couple of weeks. But we're not going to do that because we won't do heel versus heel, so they face the very strange tandem of the Usos and Kofi Kingston. So, basically, we go to the middle of the match. Reigns nails a huge clothesline on Jimmy Uso on the floor. Kofi goes up top, and he gets cut off by Ambrose. Kofi knocks him to the canvas. Rollins pushes Kofi off the top. Reigns with the referee distraction. Ambrose nails him with a bulldog position into a forward face plant that drops him right on the top of his head. It looked phenomenal, by the way. So Ambrose looks at the U.S. Championship, and maybe, just maybe, he might be taking that belt off Kofi down the road if they're going to go with Rollins and Reigns as the tag team contenders for Hell No, which it totally looks like that's what they're going for. Come back to commercial break, and here comes Antonio Cesaro. He's wearing a new ring jacket. He's got his beret on. And he's not yodeling. He's all business. We saw the rematch with Kofi last week on the main event, which apparently was great. And after the match was over, he beat Kofi down rather decisively. And even in true manner, you took something from me, i.e. the U.S. Championship, I'm going to take something from you. And he ripped one of Kofi's dreads out. So that worked really well. When Cesaro is on point and not playing for comedy, Cesaro is the real deal, folks. And I know a lot of people on the internet did not like his match with Alberto Del Rio last week on Raw. And I'm not saying it because I'm biased due to the fact that I was there live and the fact that I'm a huge Cesaro fan. It worked for me. I think it really did. So we get Cesaro taking on Zack Ryder, and Zack Ryder still is not spiking his hair, so obviously this is a new turn for Ryder. So Ryder, midway through the match, hits the missile dropkick off the middle rope, charges in. Cesaro launches him up in the air, hits Swiss Death, and then the Gotch-style neutralizer for the win. 2 minutes. After the match, Cesaro grabs the mic, which is something uncharacteristic of the WWE character of Antonio Cesaro. It makes sense for Claudio Castagnoli, but it doesn't really make any sense for Antonio Cesaro. So he says, "Is this all the competition you have for me?" Cesaro puts the W in WWE. Wrestling in WWE. Is this possibly foreshadowing for the return of the KOW to WWE rings? I think it might happen. Cesaro says there's nobody in the WWE or NXT. He mentions that specifically Saturday Morning Slam, Superstar, SmackDown, the main event, or even Raw that can hold a candle to what he does in the ring. Very, very true. Cesaro drops the mic and walks out. So maybe he has been lifted from his spot in the proverbial doghouse. Even though it seems like that's probably a lie anyway, and everybody is just blowing things way out of proportion. The fact that Cesaro got depushed immediately after he lost the U.S. Championship. But I don't know. I think Cesaro is actually going to get pushed this time. So Paul Heyman's getting mic'd up, and we're going to see him chatting about what happened at Stamford, Connecticut early on today. So we get Paul Heyman via satellite to show us the footage that he shot at headquarters this morning. They go inside, they see a Sheamus poster, the Andre stuff, which he quips. He's been dead for 150 years. This doesn't impress Paul Heyman whatsoever. Heyman and Lesnar go to the 4th floor, executive offices, of course, complete with a full elevator ride, and Heyman's whistling Fandango's entrance theme. How appropriate. They get annoyed by all the posters in the hallway, notating that there's no Brock Lesnar posters anywhere. Heyman goes, does anyone work here on Mondays? It's Raw, probably not. They go to Triple H's office, which awesomely says Paul Levesque on the door to prove the realism to this storyline. Heyman looks at the secretary and goes, you're not Stephanie, you're much prettier. And Brock assaults an assistant, who basically was just trying to do his job. You can't do anything. He's like, yeah, shut up. Lesnar sounds like a bad guy from the 40s at this point. So Lesnar puts the replica World Heavyweight title on his shoulder, puts his feet up on Triple H's computer, breaks the computer in half, with his bare hands, mind you, takes the sledgehammer off the wall, and destroys the desk. Throws some chairs, lamps are smashed, throws a flat screen into the WWE logo and breaks that. Heyman leaves a business card that says, I'm a Paul Heyman guy, and that's pretty much the end of it. Heyman says, I used to hold Brock's back, but after you pedigreed me, Triple H, on national television, I'm going to personally encourage Brock Lesnar to destroy and maim you at Extreme Rules. I'm going to have him take you to the extreme and further and further and further and further and further and further. Yeah, he literally says further like 1,000 times. So at this point, Triple H finally comes out. So Heyman looks on from the big screen. Triple H comes out and jokes on Paul Heyman's hair, says it's kind of spiky, he looks like a baby chick. Triple H says, I know a little bit about Extreme myself. Don't forget, I brought up something that you might know called DX. And you should have known that no one was going to be there at the offices on a Monday, because obviously I was going to be at Monday Night Raw. Even though he wasn't at Raw Monday on Columbus, but that's another story altogether. Heyman tries to speak, Triple H shuts him up. Triple H has 2 offices, the one that Heyman and Lesnar destroyed, and the other one right inside the squared circle. The one he's standing in right now. Triple H says he became a man here, something Lesnar never did become. Saying Lesnar can say whatever he wants to say directly to his face, like a man. I'm not a hard guy to find. And in turn, the fans start chanting his name. Triple H says in his office, we fight back. That's the segment. So, kind of flat. Come back from commercial break. And with the Bellas and AJ, Team Gorgeous make their way to the ring. And of course, we preview Total Divas, which is coming this summer on the E! Network. And they're going to be facing the Funkadactyls and Caitlyn, the Divas champion. So we get a 6-woman tag match. And basically, AJ ends up slapping Caitlyn. Caitlyn gets angry. AJ gets scared. Goes to tag the Bellas. They drop off the ring apron, leave her for dead, and basically she gets speared 1, 2, 3. 2 minutes and 46 seconds. And here comes Mark Henry. He has a message for the Celtic Warrior. So, Mark Henry comes out. He says Sheamus acts when he comes out. But Mark Henry doesn't have to act tough, because he is tough. The fans start chanting what? And Mark Henry simply calls them puppets. Of course, we go back to SmackDown on Friday, on the numerous times that Mark Henry has attacked Sheamus. And he continues to talk about Sheamus, and he's about ready to talk about he's a special part in the Hall of Pain for him. And then Sheamus music hits and he comes out. They have some words to talk about Extreme Rules. Mark says they can fight right now and they don't have to wait. They take off their respective shirts that you can buy at the gimmick table, of course, for $30. And here comes Wade Barrett. The Intercontinental Champion is out. And of course, this match is going to be against Sheamus. So Henry sort of rolls his eyes and leaves the ring, come back commercial break, and the match is already underway with a reverse chinlock applied on Sheamus. This is great. Henry's on commentary, and Henry says Michael Cole is ate up with stupid and tells him to be quiet. So that's all he does this whole time. Him and even JBL, and I believe Lawler did it too, were all telling Michael Cole to shut up. Sheamus hits forearm shots, the clubbing blows on to Barrett while he's on the ring apron. Sheamus knocks Barrett off the apron into the table. Sheamus teases he's going to throw Barrett into Mark Henry, and Henry gets spooked and he knocks himself out of the chair. Sheamus brogue kicks him and he's out. Sheamus comes back in with a battering ram off the top, gets a 2 count. Barrett blocks the hold and rolls him up. Barrett hit Winds of Change, only gets a 2 count. Barrett ducks the brogue kick, kicks him in the midsection with the back kick to the midsection and the side kick to the side of the head, and only gets a 2 count. Barrett locks up for the bullhammer. Sheamus ducks, locks up White Noise, nails it. Brogue kick, 1, 2, 3. About 440 for this match. After this match, Mark Henry sneaks under the bottom rope, jumps Sheamus, and starts whipping him like a government mule. Literally, with a belt he stole from one of the EMTs. Throws him the outside, whips him some more. Lands the world's strongest slam on the outside. Make a joke now. So, as we see the marks left from the whip, from the belt lashing from Mark Henry, you pretty much have to put 2 and 2 together to realize that the match of Mark Henry and Sheamus at Extreme Rules is going to be a strap match. And I have a problem with that because we don't see that stipulation very often. So, up next, we get Mark Henry. Actually, a long day. We get Kane and Ryback, which is not a match I would do, because obviously I'm not big on Ryback at all. Kane, I could take or leave. So, we get a very short match. Kane, midway through the match with a Guzzo on Ryback, going for the choke slam. Ryback rips Kane's hand off, shoves him off. Kane nails the DDT, hits the corner clothesline, but before he can get the side slam, Ryback shoves him off and nails the spine buster. Kane blocks Shell Shock and hits the suplex. Only gets a 2 count. He goes up top for the clothesline. Ryback trips him up, grabs him from the top. Shell Shocked, 1, 2, 3. About 8:42. Here comes the Shield. And here comes Daniel Bryan. Ryback bails to the outside. John Cena's music hits, and he runs down to the ring to back up Daniel Bryan. They're outnumbered. The Shield attacks. Ryback comes in swinging with a chair. Bryan takes out Rollins and Reigns with a suicide dive, and Ryback nails Cena with a chair right as he's about to nail Ambrose with the FU. Cena gets nailed with a huge chair shot. Ryback yells, Ryback rules, and that's the end of the show. Lackluster. Lackluster. Oh my god, lackluster. Raw last week, not just being live, but it's just, this show did not measure up. I mean, there's some things I would like to have had on the show. I mean, the fact that Lesnar was not used live, I understand why, because of his appearance deal, but I'm guessing that probably has nothing to do with the fact that if he appears on like a pre-tape, maybe that has nothing to do with being one of his appearances. You don't want to waste one of his live appearances. So they did the deal with him and Heyman going to Triple H's office at WWE World Headquarters in Stamford. And that's fine, but it really kind of fell flat. Triple H shows up, and he pretty much has a one-sided argument with the Titantron. Sandow mocking Orton's theme. Oh my god, it was incredible. I'm sick of Randy Orton. I really am. I really have no interest whatsoever in the Big Show and Randy Orton feud. I don't like the Big Show at all. He's funny, but I don't like him at all. I don't care about Randy Orton, the Big Show. The quicker this feud ends, the better. Sandow should be doing something better at this point. Fandango needed the win tonight. Don't understand why he didn't get it. I mean, he's basically a chicken because he runs away because he doesn't want to deal with what Tons of Funk and Jericho are doing on the outside. I get that. But Truth is never really put over as a former world champion, obviously because he didn't win a WWE championship. He won the NWA World Heavyweight Championship, so you're not putting that over, and I can see why. So it doesn't really hurt Truth to lose to Fandango, but it doesn't happen. Swagger gets some really stiff shots with a ladder in tonight on both Alberto Del Rio and Dolph Ziggler, so I think it's going to be pretty violent. There's going to be some receipts for Swagger at Extreme Rules. I'm pretty sure that's what's going to happen. We're building towards next week. For some reason, there's going to be another dance-off with Jericho and Fandango. Sure, whatever. And still building towards Caitlyn and AJ for the Divas Championship. Caitlyn, of course, getting the pin tonight on AJ. So that's how we went with that. The Shield continues to be dominant over a put-together team of the Usos and Kofi Kingston. I don't understand why the U.S. champion was used like that. And Cesaro destroys Zack Ryder. That was nice seeing him both on television, and basically says that he has no competition and he just wants a challenge. He's going to meet Randy Orton on the main event, which will be taped. It's officially after midnight, so I can say this tonight, but will not air until it's either Wednesday or Thursday. I don't know when Ion shows main event. I think it's Wednesday. I'm not positive. That sounds right, because I think it's Raw Monday. Tuesdays when they tape SmackDown. SmackDown, the main event, and Saturday Morning Slam. I'm not positive on that, because obviously I don't have the Ion network, so it doesn't really matter. Triple H and Brock Lesnar kind of fell flat when there's no Brock Lesnar to push this, so it's basically Triple H talking to the Titantron. And I don't know why Wade Barrett lost again tonight. I mean, I understand because this is the feud is Sheamus and Mark Henry, but Barrett's still the Intercontinental Champion. They're not doing anything with him. I really wish he'd just get pushed to the upper echelon because I really want to see them do something with Wade Barrett. Kane and Ryback was kind of a plotting match. Didn't really work for me. I mean, Ryback needed to destroy Kane in this match, and he didn't. He just beat him, so it's not a really big deal. He needs to show that he could be a legitimate contender against Cena. And Cena really has a good track record in last man standing matches. I mean, to my knowledge, I might be wrong about this, and it's way too late for me to go into research, but I don't think Cena has ever lost a last man standing match. So I don't think there's a first time for everything. I think at this point, I think Cena wins, and Ryback faces Cena in a payback match next month. That's what I'm thinking will probably happen. Unless Ryback wins the title and Cena gets the rematch for payback, I don't know. I think either way, we're going to get 2 John Cena Ryback matches the next 2 months. Oh, joy. Raw was flat this week. Not really much to talk about. So, that's what I'm going to say for today. So, I'm going to go ahead and get off here. I will try to review SmackDown and NXT from this past week. Tomorrow, well, today now. I guess it's since after midnight, I can say today. If I can. If I don't have time, I'm sorry about that, and I promise I will make sure I take care of it. But I got to work in 12 hours, so I need to get some sleep because it's night time because my eyes are about to close at this point. So thank you guys for watching, and more pop content coming from Will and Ben in the very near future, and definitely coming from AJ for the movie reviews on Friday. So, until tomorrow, boys and girls, that's all I got to say about that.